What's up, guys? Super Bowl Sunday. Joe Ferrari, Igor Henriquez here. Sunday, February the 7th. We got Kansas City Chiefs going against Tampa Bucks. Kansas City favored by 3 points, 56-point total. I'm going to throw it over to Igor because it's been a while since we got together, obviously. But let us know where you stand. I think we all know if anybody pays attention who you're picking for this game, but give us some insight.
So obviously, again, to me, it's obviously the Super Bowl matchup. If my Patriots aren't in there, it's a Super Bowl matchup that I wanted. You have, again, two outstanding quarterbacks, and obviously I have a massive fandom for Tom Brady. Again, 10 Super Bowls, has the possibility of winning his 7th ring. Phenomenal in terms of 7-9 Bucks team last year. With a lot of the main parts, there's been some tinkling here and there, but doubled up in wins, back to a Super Bowl in terms for Brady. Again, it's going to be a really good game. I said it before we started rolling. My head says that the Kansas City Chiefs has been on a crazy roll. From what happened in the first game between the two sides, you can see where the Bucks might have some deficiencies, especially in the secondary. Tyreek Hill had like 200 yards in the first quarter of that game.
And no team stopped him. It's not like any team has a plan for him that works.
But that obviously, when you have 200 yards in a single quarter, and that game ended up being close, about 20.
I think it was like a backdoor cover, though. I feel like
it was. They played much better after that. So I'm not expecting one of those. I'm expecting a really close game. Again, overall, the talent-wise on both sides of the field, I would say that the Bucks have the most talent in terms of overall, in terms of the whole. But the Chiefs probably have the 2 or 3 of the higher
game breakers.
I would say that maybe they have, of the top 5 players, the Chiefs have at least 3 or maybe even 4 of the top 5, and then you can probably say that Tampa might have 10 of 15.
But
so it's good. If talent-wise, it's a really great team. You can't ask for a much better Super Bowl.
So they probably have the best, if not second best, quarterback in football. Most people probably say the best, but Rodgers just won the MVP.
I would
but I'm talking about present day, not Brady. Brady has a 42 or 43, right? So Mahomes best quarterback, probably.
I would say so. Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, top 3, maybe best wide receiver in football, most explosive.
I don't know if I would put him in. It's because there's a lot of good wide receivers, right? So you look at Devontae Adams, you look at Julio when he's healthy. I would probably put Tyreek in a top 5 conversation. I don't know if he would be top 3. DeAndre Hopkins, and he's probably one of the hardest guys to cover because of his speed.
Fastest player in football.
If he was, for example, if he had that speed and he had let's say 6'2" or whatever, obviously I think he would probably be the best. And then you have, you got Kelsey.
Kelsey, best tight end in football, probably, right?
Him and Kittle probably be the best tight end. It's one of those battles between new school and old school, where you have Brady and Gronk, who was for the longest time. And if people forget, Gronk's actually younger than Kelsey. You probably would be surprised with that. I think Kelsey's older than Gronk.
Yeah, I want to say Kelsey's probably in his 8th or 9th year now.
I think Kelsey's 31. Gronk is only 29. Yeah. But because of
and sat out a few years with retirement,
of all the injuries and what happened to Gronk, Kelsey's been a healthier guy, so he's been able to sustain a lot more. But I think a lot of people would be surprised by that. But Gronk isn't what he was. Gronk can block, one of the best blockers, and Kelsey does a really good job there too. But yeah, Gronk's not what he was because of all those leg injuries and his back injuries. So he's definitely lost a step. So he's not a guy that's a huge difference maker. He was in the last time that the Chiefs lost the playoff game was to the Patriots and Brady and Gronk. Gronk was a difference maker. Mm-hmm. That was really his last stretch where he looked reasonably dominant, and he's a tough cover when if he's healthy, and again he's a big dude. He's a lot like Kelsey, very hard to cover. Right now, he doesn't lost a step a little bit. Might be a difference maker. He wasn't a difference maker in the last game against Green Bay. He got 1 reception, a big reception at that. It was like a 20-yard scamper. But again, not an elite difference maker. This will come down to efficiency and D. Though to me, it's again the battle will be can the Bucks defensive line, which is to me might be the best in football. Overall,
in front 7 too.
You got Jason Pierre-Paul. Vita Vea wasn't. I don't think Vita Vea was there for the last matchup against KC. He's a difference maker. Shaq Barrett is another guy that was giving Aaron Rodgers all sorts of problems. And then you got the older guy in terms of Dominic Sue, who can really do some things there too. The Bucks secondary, Winfield's back. Whitehead missed the game against Green. Was injured in the Green Bay game as well. Actually, I believe it was the Green Bay game was injured. They're back. They're gonna need those guys in the secondary because that's what it'll be basically what the Bucks can do in the secondary wise, and if they can pressure Mahomes. I think too tight.
Sometimes pressuring Mahomes ends up being worse for you because you get him on the run and he buys some more time.
It is, but the one issue that the Bucks are good at is that those cover guys on the edges have a lot of speed, so it makes life harder to do those scampers. And with those two tackles out, it'll be harder for Mahomes. But, so I'm not saying he's not going to do it because again, I think Mahomes is a phenomenal athlete and he'll find ways. Sorry about that.
Vegas calling for your pick.
Vegas calling, and so forth. Overall, it's an interesting situation with that. So it's again a matter of looking at particular elements. Again, with those two tackles out, it's definitely going to be a tougher situation with them in that regard. So that's what it comes down to that.
We'll do the picks, I guess, at the end of the show. But Brady going for his seventh ring,
yeah.
He's already the best of all time. I can say that, right? Like I think that I was always a Manning guy. I think that Brady's always had a better coach the whole time, arguably better defense, especially towards the end of his career. Now I guess the other guys coming up would have to be Rodgers, although he hasn't won another ring, he did get another MVP. And then Mahomes. Mahomes is, like you said, is the new against the young, or the old against the young. And if Mahomes, goes on a run here, let's say he wins back-to-back Super Bowls, wins a third. Brady's never won 3 in a row, right?
No, I don't think
they won. Have they won back-to-back?
I think Brady did win back-to-back with the Patriots, but it's a very tough task to go back-to-back in the NFL. Like even making it to like 3
Conference
Super Bowls,
finals or Super Bowls,
it's tough. And it's because of the free agency stuff, right? Because a lot of these teams, you have a small window until you get gutted because guys, start getting paid by other teams, and you see that
after their rookie deals.
After the rookie deals, and you'll see again, it happens to every team. If you're able to keep the core guys and hope to build around, but even then it gets harder because then you get squeezed, which is the salary cap situation. It happened to the Patriots all the time.
And that's why they would trade guys for first and second round picks.
Linebackers get again, and that's the whole situation there. So the Chiefs have an opportunity here. Obviously, they have a couple of guys that are elite players. Are they going to lose some guys down the road because of money? Absolutely. They're going to have
to take a little less to stay, right? And if you can keep guys like obviously Mahomes is going to stay. Got that massive contract.
You look at some teams, like there's some teams going into the situation with free agency here that they're $100 million over the cap. Like I think New Orleans has to cut a lot of guys. Green Bay's going to have a hard time bringing back like Aaron Jones because they're really locked up against the cap. So it's difficult. It's difficult. You really do have like a 3 to 5 year window.
And you have to hit all your draft picks every year. I'm going to say Kansas City, even with Edwards-Helaire, like back of the first round pick, they get a running back that at least isn't a bust that's going to play, and he's had a pretty good season. I guess we can get into maybe props because I want to do this. Let's get into the betting. First touchdown. Who do you like for this?
First touchdown. I think. Most teams love to defer. Obviously, right off the start. The Bucks usually start off slow in terms of that. So I'm probably gonna say that Casey probably takes the lead in the game with the first touchdown. Brady did a really good job in terms of bringing them down the field against Green Bay and scoring the first one. But usually, I think Tampa tends to have a slower start. So if I had to bet on that, I'd probably say that Casey gets the first one.
And who are you taking? Which player?
Oh, to get the first touchdown?
Kelsey and Hill are both plus 650. And then we have Godwin, Evans, both at 10-1. And then Edwards-Helaire, 11-1. Darrell Williams, 11-1.
I would probably say that I would give the first touchdown. I would say probably goes to... I'd probably say that Kelsey will get the first one because they tend to use him on that little scamper play where they like shovel it off to him. I've seen that a bunch of times for Casey. I'd probably say that Kelsey gets the first one if I had to put my money on it. Herdman would be my underdog because he's a guy that I think he's gonna have a big game. He's quick. He's again there's
plus,
a lot of guys.
20-1 for him to get the first touchdown.
Yeah, Herdman would be one of the guys that I would look for that. Maybe Sammy Watkins, but I think Herdman is gonna be key because I think they'll have a lot of eyes on Kelsey and on Hill. Herdman's gonna have a lot of free space in my opinion, and he's quick. He's probably just a tick slower than Hill, slight tick.
Yeah.
and not that much.
I'm going to go somewhat, not necessarily off the board, but I think Tampa's going to score first. I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette. Uh, the Jags let him go for nothing. I guess they were just trying to get the top pick, which they did. But I think that Fournette's going to have a pretty big game. A lot of pressure on the wide receivers, and you get down to the 1 or the 2 yard line, and I just think that they're going to punch it and take the early lead. So I'll go with Fournette. He's paying 11-1.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Any other props? I know you have the list there. Anything that you really liked?
Well, I mean, I think I think obviously with what he got last game, I think the 95.5 here for Tyreek Hill is probably being pretty generous. I think he even if I'm assuming they're going to double him on a lot of the situations. They do a lot of these little shovel passes and small passes that they always get him involved, even though teams always trying to shut him down. So I think just based off of him getting so much volume, if he gets 11 or 12 balls for 8 yards, but he'll have one where he hits like a 20 or 30 yarder. And I think that's pretty much a given that'll go over. In terms of other situations here, the running thing with Jones is an interesting one. That's a really low number. You just have to really decide how much they're going to use Fournette and not Jones. The Kansas City run defense is definitely again not one of the better ones in terms of what they faced lately. I think Green Bay's was pretty rough as well. But that one 37, 38 yards. I mean, that's doable depending on the split. I mean, he's having one of those he takes one series, Fournette takes the other series. It really depends on who's going. It could easily be Jones this game. You never know. He tends to be more of a guy that can bust out longer rushes. So that's a coin flip on that one. Field goal made in Tampa in weather. Both guys have been pretty money. I'd say one of them hits over a 48 yarder. I think the Chiefs Butker in that Florida
weather.
The
best one.
He's solid. I'll probably say that's a definite situation there. And I definitely do think that Godwin will probably get at least 6 receptions as long as he catches the damn ball. And that was one of the more irritating things because again, me being a Brady guy, I like to. He had a rough second half against Green Bay. I'm not going to say that those interceptions were completely not his fault. A couple of the ones that were set up, the wide receivers could have made some plays earlier that would have avoided a lot of that situations. But Godwin's been a guy that he can. It's insane because he made an insane catch against the Packers, but he's dropped so many easier balls, which is it's interesting. So I think Godwin gets volume, depending, especially if Antonio Brown is limited with that knee injury. So there's that situation in that regard. So I think Godwin will get enough volume to hit over 5.5 there as well. Okay. So again, it's interesting. Gronk 2.5 there. He only 1 reception last week. I think he tends to match up well with those KC guys. A lot of them are still there from the Super Bowl from the AFC Championship from a couple of years ago. He'll probably get a little more volume. So three's definitely not, especially in the end zone. Three's not out of the realm of possibility. So there's a couple of ones that are.
Godwin or Evans, do you think has a better game?
In terms of
yardage, touchdowns, whatever, any of the props.
See touchdowns. They always tend to target Evans because he's a bigger target in the end zone. So if I were to go by touchdowns, I would say that Evans probably would have the higher ceiling there. In accumulating yardage, I probably would say with Godwin. Brady tends to look for Evans on higher end plays. And don't sleep on little Scotty Miller. Let me tell you that.
Oh my God.
He was
he had that long 50-yard line.
Brady tends to make like Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola type guys. Brady used to loves those guys. He had that big bomb in the Green Bay game. He's a guy that's quick. He's not Tyreek Hill quick, but he's close. He's close, and I think he'll get that one-on-one coverage at times. So Scotty Miller might be a bit of an X factor here too. So. It'll be an interesting game, man. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to every aspect of the halftime show with the weekend, and there's props on what songs he's going to play.
Yeah, I saw that. We talked about that too.
That was interesting.
Okay, so you're taking the Bucks to win, and if you're coaching the Bucks, what's your game plan going against Kansas City? How you think you're going to defeat them? What's your best chance?
Well, first and foremost, I want to to me it's all about like I stated, the offensive line there and keeping Mahomes contained. Mahomes has had some bad games where I remember the Miami game this year, he threw a bunch of picks, things like that. You got to force Mahomes into some mistakes, and with that you have to put on the pressure. So if that defensive line can bring on the pressure, get sacks and so forth, and limit him, that's to me is the key to the situation.
Would you bring more pressure or just the 4 guys up front? Would you bring a linebacker or safety from time to time, or do
I
you want to
mean,
keep guys in coverage?
I think you got to keep guys in coverage because you saw what Hill did to him last time, and it was a ravaging joke. When guys are somersaulting into the end zone and stuff like that, you can tell it, and that's been the Achilles heel. You saw it in the Saints game and I was messaging you about the game where the one guy was when Winston came in for that trick play, the guy was wide open.
Yeah.
So the coverage is a huge thing. So they're probably going to limit on what they bring to see what. I mean, Todd Bowles loves to bring his blitzes. He's got to keep Mahomes contained, but I think that Vita Vea and the rest will probably do a good job in doing that. If they can get the pressure and force some mistakes, again, Brady's been surgical with those turnovers. And you saw it in the Saints game, you saw it in the Packers game. You give Brady a turnover, especially on the other end of the field, and he scores. He scores, which is again, it was the difference in the Green Bay game. Two turnovers, 14 points. Rodgers got three interceptions to work with by his defense. He only scored 6. And that was because at the end of the day, a lot of those turnovers were in deep in Green Bay territory, so it's not obviously all on Rodgers. Brady ended up getting some of those turnovers closer to the Green Bay end of the field. But Brady, and you saw it in the Saints game, he turns turnovers into points, and that could be the swings in most of these games, right? Where it's the turnover battle and who can make the other team pay. Again, that'll be the battle, and I think. And again, Spagnuolo's defense against Brady, Chris Jones, they have guys that can cause some pressure. See what happens. Brady doesn't like pressure. Brady just doesn't scramble. There's been opportunities, and that's the one
pressure. And
that's the one thing that Brady, even at this age, I think he could still probably. There's opportunities for him to where he has open areas where even if you're like an old man and you're running like a 4.9 or 5.0 or whatever the heck the speeds
more than
are,
that probably. Yeah.
he could still make some plays without having to duck down and take some sacks. Brady tries to do his best not to throw turnovers, and he did a bad job in the second, especially that one where he just kind of flung it. He doesn't like taking sacks, and he takes some chances that he probably shouldn't. And he gets lucky. I'm not going to say that Brady, has been absolutely great in the playoffs. He's made some rough mistakes and some errors that could have easily been more interceptions. But he's got to use a little bit more of that area where he can just get out of the pocket a little bit more. He doesn't do that, which is always, I think he got to 1,000 yards rushing. It took him 20 years.
In a career.
Yeah, I think that's 20 years. So he's not Lamar Jackson out there or Patrick Mahomes. But there's opportunities that he can legitimately use your legs sometimes. You don't have to always just duck down and be afraid of the hit. But he's also 43 years old and trying to survive out there. So it's an interesting factors.
Okay, so I guess I'll make some prop picks then. Longest punt return, I like under 13.5. I think the special team is going to be kind of tight there. I saw that's a prop there. In terms of like scoring, so it's 56. I love the under, and I think that a lot of people really like the over here, which seems almost too easy. Like I even think that 56 is a little bit, because that's pretty much like a 28,
56,
30 game, something like that. Yeah, right. Like,
well, it's a high octane offenses, right? Both are high octane offenses.
I think that the coaches here are just going to try not to give up a lot of the big plays. Easier said than done, but with so many explosive guys on offense, I think that this might be maybe like a bit of a low scoring game. I don't know how low scoring, not like the Rams and the Patriots game.
The other one was 28-24, so I mean that would be under the total, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was pretty, I think the first quarter had I think it was like 17-0 or 21-0 for Kansas City in the first half. So I mean there's a possibility.
I'll go through some of the prop picks as well that I think, because I did like a very small ticket here. So I got Edwards-Helaire over on the 29.5. I think that both teams are going to try and like control the clock a little bit, because you want to keep the other offense off the field. Especially like I feel like if you're Tampa Bay, you don't want to go score for score with Kansas City. Because I do feel like Kansas City is a little bit more explosive on offense, especially with the speed they have. I feel like they can score a little bit quicker. I have Ronald Jones under the 37.5. I think that Fournette's going to have a bigger game. And this, I guess what the problem is just kind of like predicting what you think is going to happen, right? Like if you think that, because you're talking about doubling. So I took Kelsey under 97.5 and I took Tyreek Hill over on 95.5. They could both be under. But the way I was looking at it is like Tyreek Hill, if you're going to have 2 guys running around the field with him the entire game, they're going to be dead tired too. I'd rather take away Kelsey, who's his security blanket down low. If you're going to be running him scrambling, it's easier to throw right behind the defensive line as opposed to throwing it downfield if someone's going to be double teamed.
Yeah, but like
this is just like I said, like my logic. I'm trying to think of what I think is going to happen.
They were embarrassed by Hill last time, so they'll try to limit Hill's like again. It could have been record proportions. It slowed down obviously in the afterwards, but like it was looking like he was on pace for like 800 yards.
That's the thing, and
it was insane.
So I don't like you have to pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to send too many guys. You're going to send 4 and rush them. Your corners are going to be there. Your safeties have to stay back because Mahomes can just toss the ball down there, right? So I don't know. You're not going to play man to man. You're going to play zone, but you're not going to send guys. I don't think you're going to try and double too many guys because I don't know, like let's say that Tyreek breaks one for like a 60-yard touchdown. That's all of a sudden you get punched in the face the first few possessions. You're like, oh shit, like I need to go back to the drawing board. But I think that if Tampa wants to win this game, they're going to have to, easier said than done again, but get a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Contain him, get the ends going, bring pressure from everywhere, not send anybody because, like I said, I just think that if Tampa's going to have to score with Kansas City, it's not like they're not capable of it. They are. But I just think that if Tampa's going to win this game, it's going to have to be a little bit more low scoring. That being said, I love Kansas City. I guess I'll give my pick now. Kansas City -3 and the under. I think that it's going to be a lower scoring game. If I had to like predict a score, I feel like I'm sitting on the ground now. If I had to predict a score, something along the lines of like maybe like a 27-20 game. I think that it might be something like that with under at the half and then towards the end maybe a little bit of pressure. Kansas City might go up a little bit, maybe by 10 or 14 maybe early, and I think that Tampa Bay might have to come back.
Very possibility.
That being said, I would have to place a wager, but I don't know. Like I like Kansas City, and I do like the under there. So if those are my picks, the -3.
Yeah, I'll probably go with. I'm gonna say it's gonna. I'll say it's 35-31 Bucks.
35-31
Bucks. Yeah, that's what they'll win
okay,
by
so
4.
Win by 4. But I asked you before, and we're gonna do this again.
Yeah.
So if you have to bet $500 of your own money, are you still gonna make that pick?
If I have to bet $500,
you gotta go to the bank right now, take out money, and go to the window. Who are you taking?
No, it's just a spread or a team situation.
Pick a winner. Let's say you gotta pick a winner.
Like I said, and I've been riding the Bucks train the entire time. Every time we've done a pick session, I'm gonna go with Brady and the Bucks.
Okay, so you did say that before though.
I'm gonna go with I'm fighting this off, but obviously if I said 35-31 Bucks, I gotta go with Brady. So I'm gonna say that again it'll be for the 7th time that Brady will do a game-winning situation. Last second, like a drive in the 4th quarter to win the game. I think it's been a Cinderella situation at 43 years old. That's what I want to happen.
I thought that was happening with the Bills though, right? Like I saw another Cinderella thing, and I was like, oh, maybe this is gonna happen.
Well, I don't even know if I consider the Bills a Cinderella story though, right?
They have to be.
I mean, last year they were quite good. I don't think it was a sin. I think.
But Bills in the Super Bowl, Bills winning it.
Okay, could you have predicted that Tampa was going to make the Super Bowl based off what was going on? 3 road games, like 43-year-old quarterback. You think so?
Well, it's the same thing I told you about Brooklyn Nets. Like let's toss thing. If the NBA season and it's like Lakers against Brooklyn, are you surprised that Brooklyn would make it there? Like if you look back on things,
because I was in last year, and this is going back to the whole Brady situation. Yes, last year in New England, Brady looked like he was much worse than he actually was because we saw what he did because he had nobody there. So I always I don't bet against Thomas, Patrick, Edward, Brady. That's the line, right? And in those situations when Brady actually has something to work with,
he'll make it work.
He'll make it work. He doesn't lose game, even though again, I think some people gave me the odds that he's a 5% chance of making the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, doubt him.
But you take that. I think if you have a 5% chance,
that's if you will. Yeah. I mean, again, the Washington game, they were favored because Washington wasn't very good. It was terrible division. I think the Saints game, they had been beaten badly by the Saints twice. Played a different type of game. Breeze with his injuries could barely throw.
Ball,
the Rodgers, the Green Bay game, I'm not going to say that Rodgers, and again, his defense played decently well. I mean, they gave him 3 picks. The Tampa Bay defense gave him some problems, and he has problems in the NFC Championship games. I mean, 1-4, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's one of those situations where, to me, a lot of people obviously don't want to see Brady win because obviously Brady's got a lot of hate around the world.
I don't think it's as bad now that he's not with the Patriots. I don't think people care as much.
I think people people hate Tom Brady for well, this and then again some of his personal life stuff. I don't want to get involved in all that.
Yeah, I don't see that. Like
Well,
we talk about LeBron and Brady, right? Like I'm not a LeBron guy. I appreciate him. Brady, I think it was just more like when a team wins. Like even when people select like favorite teams, right? There's always like the Real Madrid fans, the I don't know, like Patriots fans, like all of these teams that are like top notch. So it's hard. Like if you're cheering for a team, like let's even say the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have a history. And every year, someone in a division like Boston is winning. All of a sudden, it's like, how can you be a fan of a team that wins so often? I think that that's more what it is with Brady. That people just, it's not, I don't think they have anything personal against it. I think it's just like this guy wins all the time. We're kind of, there's not that personal hatred. I
think it's that typical, wins all the time. Supermodel wife. Seems to have everything that everyone. Those guys get hated on a lot.
I get it, but who do you think has more hate, LeBron or Brady? I don't even think it's close. I think it's LeBron.
See, I think LeBron gets more hate because there's so many Jordan guys, and the Jordan guys hate when LeBron gets the comparisons. With Brady, there really isn't that because at the end of the day, unless you're
there was at the time there was a Manning thing when they were both in their primes. Right?
Yeah, there was that, but I mean Peyton was a great quarterback, but like Peyton wasn't a guy that like came before that was so revered and stuff like that. So LeBron
he was a number one overall pick, like LeBron. Obviously not
he
the
was,
same
but
level,
like again, even like and then Jordan and LeBron never competed with each other either, right? So Brady ended up getting the best of Manning on more than most occasions. Manning beat him a couple times. Brady beat him a couple times. And again, if you look at it, Peyton ended up with the last Super Bowl with Denver. Peyton
they give it to him. Almost,
they gave it to him because the Denver D was ridiculous. And again, you can't.
But with the Colts, he never had a defense either, like ever. It was always like a 30-second defense.
Dwight Freeney and stuff. He had some players.
One or two guys. Come on,
but I think it's there was a situation, and Brady gets again the whole the Republican thing. That's a big thing with the hat. He gets a lot of hate for that. One of my buddies tends to bring up, and
you're a Democrat. What do you think about that?
Here's the thing. I never chose sides like that, and I'm not. I won't even say that I don't like the politics. And again, we're not going to get politics.
We're not going to do politics.
But
if you watch Trump,
and here's the thing, and whether I've never got into U.S. politics up until recently because I saw everything that was going on.
Yeah.
We laughed about some of the stuff that George W. But Ronald Reagan was in the bag. I don't like some of the stuff that's going on in politics these days because like the conspiracy theories and all this and the stuff like that. It's always in your face, and I didn't like I wasn't a fan of Trump at the end of the day. I had no problem with Trump was getting a stunner in the WWE because he was an entertainer, right? But when he's an entertainer, I don't give a damn. Yeah. But when he's the president and he's acting a different fool, that's a different story. I was a fan of Obama. I never had personal interests to be a Democrat, or quote unquote. Do I like specific things that were going on? Not really. And that to me is if Biden, like for example, if the Rock ran as a Republican in 20, I would support the Rock. If he got into politics, because I'm a fan of The Rock, and I think he generally comes off like an intelligent individual most of the time.
Yeah.
And if he ran as a Republican, like Schwarzenegger, I love Schwarzenegger. He's a Republican. I had no problem with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I'll be back, and that was awesome. Like,
he was back once.
He was like a guy, an Austrian freaking. I think he's from Austria. Austrian immigrant that came in. I thought he was awesome. Jesse the Body Ventura when he was going. Again, I was a fan of that guy. I remember him in WWE. Me, Gene McMahon, and all that other stuff. It was hilarious. So I had no issues there. But Brady gets a lot of hate for that. Some PPP loan that came out recently where his company got $700,000. That was a big problem.
Really? I didn't hear about that.
And again, people, Brady shouldn't get that money because he's a millionaire. And again, I don't think he runs the company. Someone runs the company, and they went for the loan. They gave it to him. That has nothing to really do with. So Brady should take losses because he's a millionaire. I don't tell people how to run their own money, right? So he gets hated on for a lot. The thing with this kid, that one of those Brady specials that he that the kid kisses him for too long on the mouth and stuff like that. People thought that was abuse.
These things I haven't even heard.
It's just weird stuff, right? Yeah, and again, it's Brady, I have no issues with, you want to raise your kids to specific things. Like, do I kiss my parents in the mouth? No, wasn't brought up that way. But other people might do some stuff that they don't think it's all like, weird stuff. I wouldn't personally do it, but everyone has their stuff. But like even that kind of stuff, the cheating, the deflate thing, I thought that was ridiculous. But anyways,
but that wasn't necessarily him. But to answer the question, then you think that Brady's on the same level of
hate overall? Yes.
Wow, I would never think that.
Again,
and even now, like I said, changing teams.
The New York people obviously hate people, anything from Boston. So he gets, again, remember, New York's a huge base. A lot of people from New York. almost all of them you can say hate Brady because Boston won so much. And then around the league, the Patriots, the cheating and all that stuff. The Patriots were one of the most hated. And as much as Brady might win the Super Bowl today with Tampa Bay, he'll always be a Patriot.
Yeah.
And they'll always see him as a Patriot because he was there for 20 years. Like no one sees.
If
No one
he wins,
sees
let's say he
Manning.
wins 2 years. Let's say he wins 2 or 3 Super Bowls with Tampa or something.
Well, again, and I think, in all honesty, I think this will be, and maybe you never know, but we have to come to a time that everybody at some point
eventually.
at Father Time will decline. And again, making the Super Bowl again and again. I think this will probably be his last shot, if I'm being honest, and I'm a Brady guy because again, it's so hard to get back. Again, you're 44 years old next year. It's like next year if he declines, like again, he's already.
How old's Breeze?
Breeze just turned 40.
See, and Brady looks better. Brady takes better care of his
Listen,
body.
you
too,
also,
better
you know,
O-line.
Brady also didn't get a broken ribs and a
punctured
collapsed
lung
lung.
and all that stuff.
And that's again, that's why like it's so hard to play quarterback at 43 because you take so much punishment that your body just gets broken. That's why Manning, by the end of it, his shoulder was gone, and he was a shell of himself even in that last Super Bowl. So playing until like older age, especially if you're a guy that takes a lot of hits.
Yes.
I go Andrew Luck retired so young.
That O-line was so bad. Now the Colts have the best O-line in the league.
And now like they want the Irsay's trying to get him back, and the man he's like, no, I'm good, I'm retired.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's you never know with these situations.
Okay, I'll go through. I guess any other like last thoughts on the game? Any more picks that you have?
No, man. Like I said, I think it'll be a great game, and like I said, I'll be disappointed if Brady doesn't get his 7th, but I still think it's a hell of an accomplishment to even get there. So, I mean, you know, it really is again new age against and Mahomes. Like again, I can't really cheer for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're in the same conference as the Bills. Sorry, as the Patriots, not the Bills. Well, and the Bills as well, but. I think the guy's a phenomenal quarterback. I was on that early too because I remember I have a big buddy that's a KC fan in the States, and they had Alex Smith there for so long. I'm like, yo, like why aren't they playing Mahomes? Like when Mahomes gets there, you'll be all right.
Him like 7th or 8th overall, yeah.
And they actually, I think, pushed up because they pushed, and the Bills actually passed on Mahomes in that draft, I believe, because he was around that area. I forget who they took. I don't know if they. Was that the Josh Allen draft? I'm pretty sure
it wasn't.
They ended up taking somebody else.
Was it like Shaq Lawson or something?
It was they picked someone right before where they ended up getting there, and the Bills passed on Mahomes, which is obviously a mistake.
But at the same time, with Mahomes,
he
wasn't
even
a
sure
top
thing.
5 pick.
He wasn't a sure thing because he went to a smaller level college. He wasn't
Texas Tech.
Yeah, he wasn't like someone that like now I'm a homeboy.
Of course. Yeah.
But back then it was all about that draft. Everyone was talking about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson had dropped. And that Houston was
and Watson went after him, didn't he?
Yeah. No, Watson went before him, I believe. Because Trubisky ended up being one of the
That's
higher
right.
ones.
Trubisky went like 3rd or 2nd, second or third.
Second or third, and then Watson went to Houston at like I want to say it was.
I thought Watson went like 10th or something.
I have to double check on that, but I think Watson went before Mahomes, and then Mahomes with the KC. I could be wrong.
Deshaun Watson, 12th overall in the 2017 draft.
And Mahomes.
So that was the Miles Garrett draft. I'll just run through it quickly.
Mahomes, and then again, either way, all the thing was how Houston basically robbed Deshaun Watson. If you look at the video,
Miles Garrett, Mitchell Trubisky, Solomon Thomas, San Fran, Leonard Fournette at 4, Corey Davis at 5, Tennessee, great. Jamal Adams at 6. So most of these guys here,
well, I mean, you're not a big fan of Corey Davis.
You had to bounce back here, but obviously you're taking
taking Mahomes. There.
Mike Williams at 7, not a bad pick. Christian McCaffrey at 8. Not a bad pick.
That's a good pick.
John Ross, Cincinnati, he's okay.
Mahomes with 10.
Patrick Holmes at 10. Marshawn Lattimore at 11. Deshaun Watson at 12.
But if you look at it, when you say that, who got the biggest steal? If you look at any of the media outlets, Deshaun Watson at 12 was looked as the guy that was the biggest steal.
Yeah, and he went after.
Mahomes. So Mahomes got some fan more, but everyone was like, oh, because Watson was the star I think at Clemson. I want to say Clemson.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge college football guy.
He won. I'm pretty sure he won the title that year. I know they played Alabama. I don't know if that's the year they won it or not.
I can't recall that. Like I said, I'm not a huge college football guy, but I remember everyone was on Watson going at 12. That was the biggest thing. Mahomes really got like put in the back because he looked as a project. He was a project guy that he was going to need some years.
And he played in a pass-friendly system at Texas Tech.
And then again,
with the Arizona coach.
And he's phenomenal. And like I said, if Brady gets beat by anybody, I probably would want it to be Mahomes because he's phenomenal.
No weakness.
He's a phenomenal player. I love watching the man play. I can't say that again. I'm not overly rooting for him. But at the end of the day, he can do things that a lot of guys can't do, and it's incredible to watch as a neutral. If he was playing anybody else but Brady, I probably would be hoping that the Chiefs probably win. and enjoy it. This time I'm hoping Brady can get in there, but.
Bills took Tre'Davious White that year, 27. So I guess they made the playoffs. That was when he was.
And again, he's been a solid corner and a top end corner at that. Yeah. And again, you get Josh Allen, they're fine now. The first year Allen was pretty rough, but they've recovered since then. Would they have probably taken Mahomes over Allen? He probably would. Obviously, been an MVP going.
But then again, Allen I think was like a 5 or 6 pick, and they said that was possibly a reach back then. Just a big, strong arm, but inaccurate, right?
I think Allen ended up going ahead of the guy that the Cardinals picked, Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen ended up getting
he went
traded.
like 9th, 10th, or 11th or something like that.
Something like that. It was the same draft, but again, he ended up like getting traded all over the place. But overall, like I said, it's going to be a great game. I'm going to enjoy it. You might never see Brady at another Super Bowl. I'm going to take that in and enjoy it. I thought it might never happen again. Enjoy it and enjoy the game. It's going to be awesome with a halftime show. Again, probably one of the more interesting Super Bowls that. And again, the KC,
it's too bad not many fans too.
The KC San Fran game had its intrigue, but not the same like levels in my opinion. Because
it was more of a defense and an average quarterback against
Jimmy G. And like I said, I had no problem with Jimmy G. Like they
almost won it.
They almost won it, and the defense was
stellar.
Stellar.
They didn't come to play.
Yeah, defense was stellar. So it definitely has like this whole like new guard versus old guard, and who's gonna win out that one final battle. I did want to ask you though. So if Brady wins this one, because this has been a topic that's been coming up.
Greatest athlete of all time? Is that what you're going to
get? No. If Brady wins this one, and then Brady's done.
Yeah.
Do you think that Mahomes could ever even think of passing him as the best quarterback of all time, knowing that he got beat when Brady was 43? Is that feasible?
Yeah, why not?
Well, because again, at the end of the day, it's
I
hard
know,
enough to get a 7 because it hasn't really been done. Heck, 6 hasn't been done. But at the end of the day, like. Would that always be that situation?
So if Brady gets 7, I think it's safe to say that Mahomes will not get 7. I don't know. Tom Brady, obviously, skill set. I don't think he's the best skill set quarterback of all time. Maybe probably he's top 10. I don't know. We'd have to make a list. But
in terms of talent, it would
we know that Mahomes has more talent. Rodgers more talent, like in terms of feet and cannon, but. We can't take away from him that the work ethic, obviously taking care of his body, having the best coach of all time, obviously helped him.
Yeah.
Not to say that he wouldn't be great if he played for the Bills, but maybe he'd have 1 or 2 Super Bowls instead of 6.
Well, and again, a 6th round draft pick.
No, the guy. Like I said, you can't not root for. I can't not root for or at least applaud his career. Yeah. I think he's been incredible. Am I his biggest fan? No, but I don't dislike him. And I think that's you think I don't like him. I don't dislike Brady. Don't like LeBron, but I don't dislike Tom Brady.
But again, and we're going to talk basketball. But again, very different situations, right? You have no one knew who the heck Tom Brady was entering the league.
Exactly, and Brady's not a guy that's going to go out there and be in the media.
And I personally don't think he seems to be a good guy. Brady. Like all the teammates love the guy.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard anything bad about Tom Brady.
But the haters always come up with something.
Same as Ronaldo, even Messi, and any elite once.
Shout out on the 36th birthday for Ronaldo.
Big goal from yesterday. I saw that too. Another big goal yesterday. But what was I gonna get at? Just like the guy's incredible. Now to get to Mahomes, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's say his career's done and he wins 4 Super Bowls, which is probably realistic. What will you draw the comparison to? Because right now with like Jordan and LeBron, it's like Jordan and LeBron. The titles is what people kind of say because LeBron's going to pass him in most statistical categories, played more games. Obviously, MJ missed 2 years of his prime. So let's say that Mahomes wins 4 Super Bowls, 4 or 5, less than the 6.
Okay.
And, throws for 3,500 every year, throws for 30 touchdowns every year. What would it take for Pat Mahomes to pass Brady as the best ever? If he just stays at 6. Let's say he doesn't win today, he has 6.
See, I don't see. Well, again, because I'm a huge Brady guy, that's asking me like a needle in my shirt.
No, but is it as
I don't
do you think it's realistic?
To me, you would have to at least match Brady in the titles. At least.
Okay. But that's not the same for LeBron and Jordan for you, right? That's what I'm saying. Because I think that if LeBron gets the 6 titles,
it's also a situation where and like I said, like MJ ended up with 6 titles and so forth. He had those three-peats. You also have to do it into overall success though. So, for example, Jordan made it to 6 finals. LeBron's made it to more finals. Again, we can go on this debate about the teams and who they face and so forth.
But even just getting
the finals getting there, And again,
because even Brady to beat the Rams, like we look at that game and we say it was a bit of a joke. We know that Jared Goff. I knew Jared Goff was terrible from before, which is really just the Rams defense. They just beat them.
Well, remember,
they're not going to blow out every
Rams
team.
Offensively at that year were the best in the league. They kind of looked like the greatest show on turf that from the Kurt Warner days.
Patriots were still favorites. Like you can say what you want. Pittsburgh was the favorite in that Super Bowl.
I don't even know if they were. I have to look back, but I think
have the Patriots ever been dogs in a Super Bowl?
Oh yeah,
that's another question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the Eagles, that one way back, right?
Well, no, even the one where where they played the Kurt Warner Rams, the one that Brady's first one.
Okay, that one and then the Eagles.
They're almost 10-point dogs.
Yes, but that was the greatest show on turf. Yeah.
That was the greatest show on turf, and I'm almost sure that the Rams,
that was his first
that's a funny thing with the Patriots situation is I would say that the Rams were actually favored in that one slightly.
I would bet a lot of money that was not the case.
The Pats were definitely. I think the Pats were favored in all the Eagles ones. If I had to guess, the Pats were favored.
Yes,
in all the Eagles
think they
ones.
were. Yeah.
But and even the Seattle one, I don't know if the Patriots were favored in that one. But a lot of them were getting touch and go. Remember, the Pats weren't like the Pats. The Giants when they were obviously favored, where they went in there undefeated. And so forth. And again, it's funny because the ones that the Patriots were always favorites in, they tended to lose for the most part. But the ones where they were underdogs, they tended to win those. That was the funny thing because the Rams thing, no one thought the Rams was gonna score like 10 points. They had been clowning people for.
So it was 13-3 that game.
Yeah,
nobody
saw it because the Rams.
It was 3-0 New England at the half.
Nobody saw that though because the Rams.
Nobody did.
The Rams had one of the against Sean McVay.
That was one of McVay's
biggest. He was an offensive guru. They were putting up at least 28-31 a game. Like they were like again Jared Goff. You can say what you want at the end of the day. But they were
Patriots by 2.5 was that spread. So I knew that they were.
Okay,
yeah.
so
But most, to be honest, if you go
that's a pick 'em.
And if it's not, but like if you
3 points is usually
If you go through all the Super Bowls, honestly, I would say that 80% of the games, if not 3 out of 4, 75% of the spreads in the Super Bowl are 3 points. It's like a lock all the time. Between 2 and 3. Always.
The Giants one, for example, definitely wasn't because
that was with the undefeated season. Right?
Yeah, that one.
Different
story.
Say, you're going to get your exceptions.
Yeah, I would say that there's some exceptions depending on what the matchups are, but. Like I said, it's definitely been an interesting ride in terms of how those work. Again, usually there's been some blowouts where the games have been terrible. I remember
there's been some bad ones. There was a stretch of
the Broncos,
really good ones.
Seattle was bad.
That was almost like the Vegas fix where they thought they got poisoned before the game.
Seattle it was
a blowout.
Yeah, Seattle ended up with that Legion of Boom thing. They just destroyed them that game. That game was over at halftime. That was no fun. Yeah. That was no fun. So I'm hoping for a close game. I'm hoping no blowouts on either end, but. That'll be the situation. It'll be a good situation. It'll be fun.
When Philly beat New England 41-33,
that
was a disappointing game for Brady.
Well, no.
Brady's still the best ever, but for the Patriots and Brady, that was a letdown game. You lose to Nick Foles, right?
But he threw 505 yards. It was crazy, right? Like he threw for a Super Bowl record and lost the game. That's why it's so interesting.
You score 33 points and you lose the game, right?
505 yards. You can't say that Brady had a bad game.
No, not him, but the team, right?
Yeah, defensively the team was bad, and again that's why like a lot of these situations.
Patriots by 5 was that one.
Yeah,
which seems right.
It seems right. He was a backup QB. Nick Foles again, a team of destiny with Foles. Foles hasn't done anything.
Wentz was MVP before he got injured that year. Yeah, remember how great he was?
And Foles ended up giving some magical run, and now
Foles
been on like 2-3 different teams since. It's it's one of those magical things where
it's a one game off.
Yeah, it's a one game. And a lot of those games like that Foles won were like last ditch effort to get to the Super Bowl. So
and I think that's
you
what's
can
going to happen.
They have the nostalgia going.
Yeah.
And what you think that might be a situation?
I think. Well, I was gonna get at most of the I want to say I don't know 5 out of the last 6, something like that. The games have been really good, and it's gone down to almost like a last drive. And I think that might happen again today. Whether let's say that the KC's up 3 or 4, let's say they're up 2 or 3, whatever, and Brady comes down, and I feel like at the end of the game, they're just those games, regular season or not, where teams really don't move the ball. All of a sudden, a 2-minute drill happens, and they go the entire field, and they score.
Yeah, and again, and that's an interesting thing, but it'll come down to a few plays. Like I said, the game, I thought the first game looked like it was going to be a blowout. It ended up being really close, and I would probably argue that if the defense had been able to stop Mahomes with about 4 minutes left, Brady probably would have. Brady was in the zone that he probably would have won the game, even though they were so terrible in the first half. And again, it's one of those situations where 3 road games, now you're playing Super Bowl. There's a lot of pressure too. That's another thing a lot of people don't get.
The only thing with the road games, for sure, but we know that without the fans being there, you're still traveling, but it's definitely not the same feel as going on the road.
There were still some fans in some of the, like Green Bay, there were still fans.
5,000 or whatever. Yeah.
But it's also the situation where I do give the Chiefs the advantage because a lot of them were there last year. And there's not many of that on that.
There's
Tampa
a lot
Bay,
of returning guys.
Not a lot of the Tampa Bay guys that have been there. Brady, Gronk, I guess Antonio Brown won one. A lot of those guys are going to be feeling it a little bit, while the Chiefs will be a little bit more settled down.
There's a lot of veterans too. Pierre-Paul has a ring, I want to say, right?
Yeah, he did with Giants. Yeah, he doesn't have all his fingers, but he's got a ring.
Chubbs Peterson.
And again, that's a good reference. Well, again, if the man blew up his fingers with fireworks, I don't know what else he could
still like maybe a Pro Bowler, right?
I mean, I remember he had that club for a long time.
Dan Elligan bit my hand up. Oh my God!
He was legitimately playing with the club. Chubbs Peterson, that's awesome.
Chubbs Peterson segment. I want to throw to some of the Maple Legends guys that I grew up with making some of their picks. So we'll start off. Andrew Vizino, shout out to my guy. First TD, he has Gronk. He picked the Bucks to win it, and MVP Leonard Fournette. I know that you're gonna like all of those picks.
Oh yeah, well we didn't say MVP, did we?
We'll do ours at the end. Okay. I'm just gonna go through some of the guys. So info once again: first TD Gronk, Bucks to win it, MVP Leonard Fournette. Tito Mangelli, my guy. Bucks and Brady, as standard as it comes. Wow. Pretty simple. Mike Woods, another legend in the game. Bucks and Brady. Phil DeLand, my boy. Bucks and Brady.
Wow.
Adam Guglietti. Bucks and Brady. Dan Fama, my football insider. Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek MVP. Kelsey first touchdown. He threw that in as well.
Okay.
I like those ones. Wow. We have a bit of Zane Shaw, our guy. Tampa Bay and Brady.
Wow. It's like a 90% majority there.
Most of the guys, yeah.
Wow.
And my
guy. Right. Well, I mean, Adam definitely has he said he's seen Brady do enough to the Bills over the last few.
Exactly, might have changed his thing. Mauro Angelucci, one of my guys from elementary school, played hockey with him forever. My captain, Kansas City -6. He's teasing it up to -6.
Oh wow, okay.
He loves the over. Great for the first touchdown, and he's throwing in dark horse. He might play something on Jason Pierre-Paul for Super Bowl MVP as well in case things go sour. But I like that. Who knows? Maybe with the tackles out, right?
If I were to go for a defensive player, I would probably go with Devin White's been really good for Tampa. He's not linebacker, but man, I've been loving what Shaq Barrett's been doing, and I think if it's going to be a defensive player, it'll be one of those two. But I think Shaq might have a big game when it comes down with those from the end rushes in terms of the sacks. Might cause a fumble or two. And again, like I said, if they can get that done, and that's the thing, the defense was really. The Tampa Bay defense has really been I'm not going to say an anomaly, but like they've had some really ugly games and some really great games. Like the KC game was ugly for the first half, especially. The New Orleans games were ugly. They were done by halftime. It's really a touch and go and situation with them. You kind of never know what you're really going to get.
This is what I think about defenses and probably them too. If I'm building a defense and you're going by position, what do you want your strongest position to be? For me, it's always going to be build your defensive line. Because if you can get pressure on the quarterback, you don't have to have the best corners. You have to have the best coverage. Because if you're putting that much pressure on the quarterback, what else do you really need to worry about? If you got 4 guys that are elite. Now, Tampa is kind of in that thing. Do they have good guys in the secondary? For sure, but their strength is their front 4.
Yes.
So if you're going to get all those guys and a compromised Kansas City tackles and offensive line, that might be the recipe for them to win the game.
Yeah.
Right? But the only thing I was going to say, though, Tampa, when you're talking about them having good games and not having great games, if you're going against a bad quarterback and you're getting pressure on them, they're going to look even worse. Mm-hmm. But if you're going against guys like Mahomes, Rodgers didn't work out so well, but elite guys that can move their feet and throw the ball, it's not as much of a, like, you're still going to be, you'd rather have pressure than not. But if you're going against guys that are on that top notch, it doesn't matter what you're doing to them, they're going to really succeed, I think, right?
The one interesting factor is that KC, because I know you had the Edwards-Helaire prop. KC doesn't tend to run the ball all that much, and Tampa's had the best run defense. So it'll be interesting to see how much KC runs the ball, and how much they're gonna fear KC running the ball, and if they're gonna drop more guys into coverage because of that, because they are so elite stopping the run, and that was stopping the run. That's one of the problems that the Packers had too, because even in both games they played, Aaron Jones he had bad games.
You know what I'm saying? He is great.
He is great, but he had bad games. Like Jones again, and he got injured in the playoff game because they hit him with that tackle and he busted his rib or whatever. But both games that they played, they held the guys under like 50 yards in terms of rushing.
Yeah.
And
you're forcing him to throw the ball,
forcing him to throw the ball, and that really makes your offense one dimensional. Now the difference between the Packers and the Chiefs is that while you have Devontae Adams, who's an elite individual, I'm not going to say that Tanyan and Valdez Scantling or guys to be massively feared.
Yeah.
While on the KC side, you have a lot more game breakers.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit more difficult because you can and Devontae's still ate reasonably.
Yeah.
He didn't have
he always does.
better games.
It
wasn't a 4 TD game.
Yeah.
He dropped a couple and so he didn't have an incredible game.
Yeah.
And again, hard to stop because he's physical, he's big, and so forth. But that's going to be the difference there too, how much they can run the ball. But I agree with you that front four, if they have a great game, I don't see how the Bucks lose. If they have a mediocre game, then probability.
That's the thing, right? Are you going to keep Kelsey back a little bit to block? Are you going to put a running back in there to help with your tackles though?
Might.
So getting back, and I guess I'll throw my last 2 cents here on what my game plan would be if I'm Kansas City, and then I'll make my picks, which I did again, but I'll just wrap it up. So if I'm Kansas City, I just thought about this, and if you can establish the run, I think that I don't think they can lose the game. Let's say you go out there, you're establishing the run, you set up the play action, because when you're bringing so many guys to stop the run, you bring an extra linebacker up or whatever it is, all of a sudden it's going to open up coverage on the inside. You have Tyreek that's going to run and draw guys, and there's only 11 men on the field that you can cover with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So just in terms of speed, so you have him running out there. Hilaire's going to run the ball. And then, like I said, I think Sammy Watkins got a really big game. I didn't even get to his prop, but I like it a lot at 37.5. Last year, receiving yards. Last year, he had a pretty big game, I remember, right?
Yeah, he's
by his standards. He's a first-round pick, but he's always injured.
He's always injured. He tends to be looked at. And again, like I said, they're going to have.
If you're going to double Tyreek and you're going to do all these things, right? Like,
I mean, he'll probably be his last game with the Chiefs because he's a free agent.
Yeah, and he's always, like I said, I don't know. The guy never plays.
I mean, like I said, if you look at Herdman, Watkins, like those are the type of guys that could be underrated. Absolutely. And like I said, my boy Scotty Miller.
Yeah, for Tampa, yeah. Who knows? Maybe he comes in and has 2 touchdowns today with all the attention on Godwin and Edwards on the other side.
Brady likes him, and
he always likes the slot guys. Slot guys and tight ends have been his guys. Right?
I think Scotty ends up playing a bigger role when Antonio Brown's not there. Yes. So that'll be interesting to see how much Brown plays.
Because they have the 2 tight ends as well.
Here's the thing: if Antonio Brown was probably what he was a couple years ago, they probably the favorites in the game because. You have 3 game breakers right there. And this is the thing, Brown, no one's talking about Brown. And I mean, he's been injured, he hasn't been much of a factor. But if he like can play up to his reasonable standards, like that's a hell of a. And again, the Chiefs secondary isn't. They have some guys like the Honey Badger and Matthew and I like Matthew.
Matthew's been great.
And Snead, I think is another guy that's really good. Like that's a problem if Antonio Brown's up to snuff. But like I said, you never know what's gonna happen.
So getting back to it, if Kansas City's going to establish a run with Hilaire, and I picked him to have a big game too. I think that what was his prop here? 29.5. I took him on the over as well. If they're going to establish a run, get some play action, get guys open in coverage, one-on-one, there's going to be someone open. Mahomes, probably the most accurate quarterback in football. He's going to have a hell of a day. That's a recipe for that. Final picks, I know that we did it before. We'll just do it now so I can post this clip. Kansas City -3 and the under 56. MVP Mahomes. I have to go Mahomes.
I'm gonna go with our
with 80% of our 80%. Field.
But here's the thing, and I know some guys picked Fournette and so forth. Unless Brady has a really bad
throws
game,
throws
a few picks and has like 150 yards, like he had in the Rams because that one went to Edelman.
Yeah.
They're giving it to Brady.
Yeah. And that would be a storybook.
He's 43 years old. And you know what? It wouldn't even stun me, and it wouldn't. And if Brady ends up winning the game and wins the MVP,
right off into the sunset,
that might be it. I wouldn't be stunned by it. I don't think it would be it, but I think he'd have a lot to think about in the off season because
to go out as a champion,
to go and again pulling the Manning and going off like a champion. Because realistically, if you lose the game, I can see him like
coming back, one more shot.
What would be the point? Of winning the game and coming back.
Well, the only thing too that it's obviously
he wants to play to 45.
Yeah, okay, so that's one thing, he wants to play to 45, and then the other thing is too similar to Dwayne Wade when he left Miami. Brady's left money on the table forever with the Pats, and he didn't get his last payday.
True.
And he's kind of pissed off about that. Not that Tampa's gonna, give him 50 mil a year or anything like that, but he's gonna come back, make another 35, 40
Well,
million.
he's got another year left, right? So they signed a 2-year deal, and then afterwards, that situation.
So I'm saying you're gonna leave that money on the table to retire. I don't. It would be
but
tough
you
for
want
him
to
to
like,
win
hey,
and
like
leave.
if you're 43 years old,
He feels good,
come out,
obviously.
you come out, and then next year you don't do it. You're gonna come back over. To me, if I was that old and I've done that, and again, if I'm feeling it, I might come back. But you're never. I mean, I guess you can go back to back, but the odds are very stacked against us. Let's be realistic.
But this is nothing. Ask competitors, these guys, like even we talked about Breeze and how injured he is. You look at Manning. The only reason these guys retired was not because they left and they were still elite. Injuries forced them to retire. And I think that Brady, like you said, he's been relatively healthy his whole career, minus that ACL way back in the day against Kansas City, I think, funny enough. Right?
Yeah, you got
the safety that took him out in the knee. But like he's not going to be injured, right? I think that he's going to come back and why not play until you can't play anymore?
Insane, man.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane.
But I guess that's it. We're gonna wrap it up for the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Good luck to obviously be safe today.
Go Brady.
I'm not cheering for anybody today. Like I said, I might put.
I'm biased. You all know I'm biased.
Yeah, you're biased. But I'm gonna enjoy the game. I don't have a horse in the race. I think it's gonna be a great game. That being said, enjoy the Super Bowl, and it's been a good run with her. Not so much for my NFL picks this year. I know you've been okay. Like I've been
okay, but like I said, it was a rough go for the Patriots this year at 7-9. So I'm hoping for a much better year. Hopefully the guys from COVID come back in that defense. It was a rough.
Yeah, hopefully next year things get back to a little bit normal. Hopefully we can maybe catch a game. I know we did Bills games last year with Tito and those guys. That would be a good time to go see anybody. But that's gonna wrap it up for the Super Bowl picks and preview. So enjoy that, guys. Gonna have that up within the hour that we're done this, and let's get on to NBA. We'll talk to you guys in a second.